This nugget is on preventing injuries. There is always some risk in any sport that an injury may occur. It is important that participants do what they can to prevent an injury from taking place. A risk is the probability of a person being harmed due to a hazard exposure. A perceived risk is an individual's personal judgment about the probability of a person being harmed due to a hazard exposure. And a hazard is an object or situation with the potential to cause harm or damage to a person. Before taking part in any training, it is important to ensure the participant is ready and safe. The Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire, or PARQ, is a screening tool used to ensure participant is safe to take part in physical activity. This is done before taking part in a physical activity, usually by a coach or personal trainer. It is important the participant knows their own medical conditions before completing the PARQ. Some examples of PARQ questions include: have you any medical conditions? Do you experience chest pains? Do you have high or low blood pressure? Do you have any ongoing injuries? Do you have diabetes? Are you pregnant? Is there any reason why you should not participate in physical activity? To prevent injury, we should use the correct use of the principles of training. So making sure we meet individual differences by training for the needs of the participant. Being specific and training for the activity or sport. Incorporating progressive overload, which needs to happen steadily and at a level suitable for the participant. Knowing that reversibility happens when we stop training. Overtraining can cause an overuse injury. And rest and recovery allows the body to recover from training. Ensuring that the frequency of training is not too often. And intensity should be at a level that you're comfortable with, so don't push yourself too hard too soon. The training time should be appropriate for the individual's needs, and the type should be suitable for the level of fitness. The risk of injury can be reduced by wearing personal protective clothing. Some sports require an athlete to wear certain protective equipment, whereas others allow athletes a choice to wear it. Examples of compulsory personal protective clothing are a life jacket for kayaking, helmet for ice hockey, or a gum shield for boxing. Examples of non-compulsory personal protective clothing include a scrum cap for rugby or a cup or jock strap for cricket. A risk of injury can be reduced by wearing appropriate clothing on footwear. Clothing is important to protect from the weather, for example sun, heat, cold, ice or rain. Often clothing that is loose-fitting or has straps can be dangerous in sport. Examples of correct clothing for sport include a ski jacket for skiing, running vest and shorts for athletics, thermal layers for ice fishing, and tight clothing for gymnastics. A risk of injury can also be reduced by wearing appropriate footwear. Correct footwear can help provide grip and keep the athlete stable to prevent them slipping or falling over. Correct footwear can also protect the feet and support the ankle joint to avoid getting injured. Examples of correct footwear for sport include running spikes for athletics, ski boots for skiing, studded boots for football, or blades for ice skating. A warm-up should be completed before taking part in any type of physical activity to gradually increase heart rate, temperature, and range of movement and to prevent injuries. After taking part in physical activity, a cool down is recommended to gradually decrease the temperature and heart rate and to include stretching to avoid a buildup of lactic acid in the muscles. It's important to always play by the rules of the competition to avoid injury to yourself but also to other participants. For example, in football, ensuring that tackles are legal to avoid ankle injuries. Remember, it is important that the official ensures that the rules are followed by all participants to prevent any injuries. Organisers and officials should always check the facilities and equipment before a competition or event to ensure participants, officials and spectators stay safe. This may involve securing the facilities. For example, before a trampolining competition, the officials will ensure the trampolines are set out correctly with mats around the outside. They will also ensure that spectators are in a suitable seated area away from the trampolines. In summary, there are many factors to consider when reducing the risk of injury during exercise. These include completing a PARQ, the correct use of principles of training, wearing appropriate clothing, footwear and protective equipment, and playing to the rules of the game and completing a suitable warm-up and cool-down. Our keywords: risk, is the probability of a person being harmed due to a hazard exposure. Perceived risk is an individual's personal judgment about the probability of a person being harmed due to hazard exposure. Hazard is an object or situation with the potential to cause harm or damage to a person. Injury, physical harm or damage caused to a person's body. Prevent, to stop something from happening. Personal protective equipment, safety equipment that protects the body from injury.